Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to let go of that. I think everyone has a hard time. It's a control thing, but it's also emails are so personal that a lot of times, yeah, they're business and hey, here's your document or here's my question. But when most people are emailing somebody, they're emailing them directly, like, hey, John. I think that's hard for people to let go of and kind of separate, okay, this is business. And I would benefit a lot from having an extra pair of eyes to either catch the really high priority ones or to help sort out just some of the things that are more task related.
Are you spending half your day replying to emails? Are you staring at a gigantic red number in the thousands on your email app? How could you possibly get your emails under control, possibly even off your plate? Emails are robbing you of your valuable time, and though it sounds impossible, you really can delegate most of that work to an assistant. This episode is the first in a 3-part series focused on email delegation. To get us started, our guest this week is Lizzy Brooks, the founder of Virtually Brooks. Virtually Brooks is a virtual assistant agency that specializes in taking that email work off your plate, and Virtually Brooks helps me with my own email delegation. We'll discuss the art of email delegation and the challenges many folks find in getting started. It may be hard to let go of that control, especially when you're being addressed directly in an email. But so much of email is task-related, and most of it can be outsourced. Yes, it will take time to get it set up and for your assistant to learn your voice and your business, but the amount you can save could be hours per day in time. We'll discuss how to get started, the processes and procedures you need to have in place, and how to tailor an email assistant to you so you can be focused on your highest and best use. Let's get to the interview. I'm John Strohmeyer, and this is the 5-Star Counsel Podcast. The market for legal services is shifting, and lawyers who don't adapt will be left behind. This podcast gives you a competitive edge in today's market by sharing the client service lessons you probably didn't learn in law school or in law practice. Let's start the show. Hey 5-Star listeners, before we start, I want to tell you about our amazing sponsor, Smith AI. Smith AI is a virtual receptionist service for small businesses with a specialty in working with solo and small law firms. I signed up with them within weeks of starting my firm because they are affordable for even the smallest solo practice. Their friendly receptionists respond to potential clients in Spanish or English, screen and schedule new leads, and can even take payments. And now they're answering calls 24 hours a day. So even when you're asleep, they're still working. Even beyond the phone, they've got live agents and chat bots ready to capture leads on your website, by text, and by Facebook Messenger. Smith's friendly gatekeepers can staff your front lines so you can work uninterrupted. You can finally have the peace of mind that while you're working, you're not missing out on future work. Plans start at just $70 a month for calls and $100 a month for chats. Smith AI is offering a free trial, and our podcast listeners get an extra $100 discount code with promo code 5STAR. That's FIVESTAR. Sign up and learn more at www.smith.ai. Don't let another day go by. Try Smith AI. So, Lizzy, you and I met last February when Houston, as part of Texas, was under an unprecedented freeze. Everything was going out. Among other things, I was freaking out as I was stuck at my in-laws' house for the week because dealing with email was kind of a big deal. And I reached out to a friend about what can I do to help with email that was coming in. And my friend Cassie recommended you because she was using you for email assistance. And since that time, you have come on and you and your team now help me with my email. Before we started, we were talking and we had to stop you because you were giving away too much of the good information when we hadn't hit record. So Lizzy, where do we even start with the email delegation?
So last year was a crazy time when we kind of joined paths. I would say the best place to start for email delegation is what we on our side at Virtually Brooks calls the art of delegation. So we encourage clients to go through a brainstorming activity where we help them look at what they do on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis, quarterly, overdue list, and a wish list. And from there, we just really help scale scale down in like a really tangible way of where we can get them started. So if it's email management, what does that look like for you? So what are your top clients? What are your top priorities? And just really breaking down the system from there.
Right, because the big thing I saw, at least with myself, I worked at a few firms before I started my own. With the exception of the first firm, every firm I'd worked at, you were expected to manage your own inbox and you didn't have any help with it.
Yeah.
Now, some of the partners may have had some of that help, but it wasn't expected and it certainly wasn't even encouraged or probably even discussed.
Yeah.
So what we're dealing with is, here I am having practiced for over a decade and never really let anybody else in my inbox.
Mm-hmm.
It's
It's
not
hard.
an
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to let go of that. I think everyone has a hard time. It's a control thing, but it's also emails are so personal that a lot of times, yeah, they're business and hey, here's your document or here's my question, but when most people are emailing somebody, they're emailing them directly like, "Hey, John." I think that's hard for people to let go of. And kind of separate, okay, this is business, and I would benefit a lot from having an extra pair of eyes to either catch the really high priority ones or to help sort out just some of the things that are more task related. And my assistant would help me do that anyways. So let's get him or her in that inbox to learn, you know, to help me let go kind of thing.
right. So, I mean, one of the things that when we started was really helpful was it wasn't that I wasn't processing emails, it's my inbox was just getting out of control. And
Mhm.
I had already, I mean, possibly even maxed out the rules in Outlook. So things were, it wasn't just everything was coming into one inbox and I wasn't seeing it. I'd
Mhm.
already taken the, not even the low hanging fruit, but some of the middle hanging fruit where I could
Yeah.
process it with just a rule. Oh, this is junk email, but I don't want it to go straight to garbage. So I had folders for that. But it really was the thing that I wish I'd known when I got started is, like you said, the control aspect and just, it's not even, I mean, it is letting go and it's learning to accept it's okay. Nothing disappears. We just
Yeah.
have to just get comfortable with you can't do it all by yourself.
Right. There's the people who have the scary numbers in their inbox, like, we're talking thousands, 20,000 or whatever, because there's never a day that they can get caught up. Like, they get so far behind. And yeah, maybe they're catching the top priority ones, but just living in a life that to me as a really OCD like organized person, that's just like that's chaos. That's too much busyness. And we have actually worked with clients where they've had 60,000 plus in their email box and we have fully cleaned it out down to, zero or one and reset the stage for them because a lot of times some people just straight delete that email address and start over when you get to that point. So we help them sort through years and, there's tools and things that kind of help streamline that. But people don't realize actually how much of that is like really weighing on them because they don't even remember or they can only handle what's in front of them. So they grab the things that are fastest or most important and then it keeps piling and piling and piling. It's almost like putting piles on your desk and being like, I'll take care of that. I'll take care of that. Well, eventually it'd be great if your assistant could just take care of that and, start filing those things either online or in person, whatever. So, um, yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with control. And I don't mean that in like a mean, like a scary way. But just the habits that we have of, oh, I got it. It only takes me 5 minutes to do, it's just 5 minutes. But if you just keep saying everything is just 5 minutes, everything's going to add up. And before you know it, you could be saving a couple hours a day, either not responding and having someone else respond on your behalf. Or, having a system where your assistant helps make a system where there's top priority emails, there's 24-hour folders. So hey, I just need you to check this within 24 hours, make sure your eyes were on it. And then there's like the I got it folders, and there's things that you can organize where it's like, hey, I want you to know that this came in because Susie the client sent over whatever, but I also handled it. So like, it's in a system where now you all you have to do is mentally say, okay, check, like, got it, it's handled. I have that off my plate.
Right. And so, as we start to think about, well, how do we even get started? The thing that was useful for me, and, thankfully, I was not 60,000 emails deep. I had done a fairly good job of it, but I think when we got started, I had about 2,500 read but unprocessed, or I'm going to say unprocessed. I'd responded to what I needed to, but yeah, not filed, not archived emails. And when y'all started, we just started with go back through, here are some basic rules for the lowest priority things. And that's what, it wasn't when you see an email come in, we didn't start with the most complicated task of how do you respond in my voice? It was, here are the things that almost certainly don't need to be kept or processed, setting up the right folders for, if I get an email from somebody internally, those can go elsewhere, and setting up extra folders so that, again, it's just taking the easy ones first.
Yeah, it's almost like those building blocks, like start learning even just, those lower priority ones. They're learning, they're reading, they're getting familiar with the names, the clients, the type of ways that you respond. And like you said, they're learning your voice, they're learning your business, they're learning what's kind of standard, because sometimes there's probably some standard type responses, maybe not exactly, but within a realm. So I think, I think that's the hardest, is getting started, is like, where do you start? How do you begin? And, like the cliche, just taking one small bite at a time. But it's really true, because after a while, like, there's clients that I could write emails for now that no one would have any idea that it wasn't the client, because I know the way they speak, I know the way, the certain tones or certain ways that they would respond. Some people are lengthy, some people are like 3 words, got it, move on, and neither one is right or wrong, but you have to learn what that looks like for that specific client without it being too out of the blue, like all of a sudden, you know Peter's writing these lengthy emails that clearly sound like it's from a woman. That's not really what we're going for. So, just learning the differences and starting off small.
Right. It by letting y'all in and getting you a chance to see this is what's even in there. Obviously, there's a large backlog of things to go through, and you can see, this is how these responses go out. This is what he's looking for. That was the easiest way to just kind of go through process, and going in every day and seeing, good, another few hundred emails got taken out and archived. It really did make a big difference. One of the other things, go.
Oh, I was just going to say, and also I think it's a good way to start learning the client's services. So yes, you do XYZ, but when you start to open some of those emails and you get attachments, or you need to take those attachments out of the email, put them in the server, whatever, you're starting to learn as the assistant's learning what the client's day looks more like versus, oh yeah, you're an attorney. Okay. Like, well, what about that? Like, what about your business? What are the most common services? So they start to learn that, and I think that truly helps them start to learn how to speak your language, to speak your your services properly.
Exactly. It's, I think back to two things. One, when my wife and I first met, she was not a lawyer, didn't know what I did, and was like, had no idea. It's like, oh, he's a lawyer. Do you do prosecution or defense? It's like, no, I'm not there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, nobody goes down to the local law firm to buy a gallon or two of law.
Yeah.
You're trying to get specific things. And this is kind of the next level of what I found helpful with working with y'all is what the next steps are is I need Harmony and Amber, who work on my inbox right now. I need them to understand how not only the work I do, but the process specifically. So they'll know, all right, here are the people who are coming in. Here's what they should be expected. And here's your rough stage. This is what you should expect and what you can kind of look out for different people in different stages of the process.
Yeah. It's almost like having, I mean, in a way, it's like email management is its own little department. Like you would have in a billing department, you'd have your accounts payable, you'd have your accounts receivable, your reconciliation team. Like the difference is these are still, this is like its own little world. Email is like always going, right? It doesn't matter. Some people send emails at midnight, some people send emails during the day. Like it's something that's ever like always moving, always it's impossible to just say, "Oh, I got caught up," like because in 10 minutes you could get another round of emails. So it's something that I don't think people realize actually how much time it takes out of their day. Um, and some people are better at it, but a lot of people have a habit of it's on my phone, it's on my computer, it dings on my computer, it dings on my phone. Like it's very cumbersome. And taking that off your plate actually really does. I mean, and maybe you can speak to that. Like you probably don't feel the need to check it as anxiously as maybe in the past because you know that it's pretty caught up. It's, you have eyes on it. They're not your eyes, but you have eyes on it.
Right, exactly. I have eyes on it, and we have set up rules of engagement as we've gone along, and we've tweaked things. Again, willing to make mistakes in terms of learning. As Jess Birkin had called it in the other episode we're going to do on this, paying the tuition. It takes time to train people. And even if something, even if I had some rules, and I did have a lot of rules,
yeah,
it's getting it out of my head and getting it into, my assistant's head so that they know what to do.
Yeah.
And also knowing just because I'm not looking at it doesn't mean somebody's not there. I'm also, I will get texts if there are emergencies or something that needs to be done very quickly.
Yeah.
Versus putting something in our internal communication so that we can, make sure there's a record of it that's not just in email.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, like I don't know how he worded it. Was it paying the tuition? I always say, like, if you invest in your business by investing in your assistants, like it will pay for it. So, like you will see that come back to you because taking the time to train somebody what is so common sense to you because it's what you do every day. It's just easy. It goes back to like everything in a business owner's head is that only takes me 5 minutes when sometimes it really doesn't. Email management or any task. And so that goes back to the art of letting go. It's just really, it's not that you can't do it all. It's that you shouldn't do it all because you should be focusing on those income producing tasks that are more of importance than constantly picking up the mundane little tasks that keep you busy and keep you distracted from the big picture.
Exactly. So we've got kind of our baseline of where we get started, handing off those small tasks, and we're paying tuition. One of the other things that I found is it's not just, hey, we have this kickoff meeting, we talk about the rules, and then we're done. At this point, every Monday, I'm meeting with Harmony and Amber to talk about things. And it's not that we're not communicating throughout the week. It's we have set aside time to communicate not only about what they're doing, anything I may have seen or anything that they have questions about, but making sure that we're not emailing, we're talking about this.
Yeah. So a Virtually Brooks like standard in my practice is that you have to do like signing on with us, you have to commit to a weekly check-in meeting. It may start off closer to like 45 minutes to an hour, maybe the first couple, because there's that learning process, and it's the letting go process. It's everybody's getting their groove. The first 30 days, I'd say, is like getting your groove. The second set, like this, by the 60th day, those meetings are usually down to about 30 minutes. And I'd say by the 90th day, people are either on at least a bi-weekly, but I do not encourage anything less than that. If there's ever been like a roadblock where I feel like the wheels are off the bus, and I got to come in and kind of see how come the communication is not where it used to be, it's always because they stopped doing their check-in calls. And I cannot stress enough that just setting the stage for the week, setting that tone and expectation, even though it may be they still are doing the same 5 tasks, and you would think it's pretty straightforward or whatever, having that FaceTime is so valuable, and having that check-in, and like I said, it'll drop down 15-20 minutes. It doesn't need to be like some long powwow, but there's something in that face-to-face that just really brings the team together, instead of just, oh, you're a one-off assistant who I talk to whenever I have time.
Yeah. And to put another version on this, what happens is you end up developing the relationship with the person, and it's something you should be doing with any of your employees who are regularly interacting with you.
Right.
And it was when I was at other law firms, you'd hear from partners, well, you just need to have, you need to work more with your assistant. You need to get them to do more stuff for you. The problem was you were generally paired up with somebody you'd never talked to before. You didn't have much of a relationship other than saying, please do this. And they would say, okay.
Like a Barbie command.
Right. The partners had been with their assistant for years, if not decades. And the key to look at is you need that underlying relationship.
Yeah.
Because then it's not just, boss asking or telling me to do something, just, abusing authority or just using the authority. This is the person I work with. Yes, there is a hierarchy, but it's not, there's a human behind it. And when you build that relationship, it's easier to get things done together. They also understand what you're saying. It's not just do it this way. It's John has done this, and I've seen him also do this. Do I want to think about it this way or this other way?
Right. I always tell my assistants there's a rhyme and a reason that somebody is the way they are. So if it's and it's no fault to, anyone. It's just it goes back to like you're the either person. If I was to look at your phone, you either have a number on your little icon for your email, or you have none. Because if you're like me, you have none. Like that number drives you nuts. Like it has to be 0. And that in my world means that at least the email is in a folder, it's in a to-do, it's somewhere organized. And then the people that we service tend to have the number that never goes away on their phone, and they like don't even care. And those are our perfect clients, right? Those are the people that we would love to help, because that's the type of organization where we can come in and we can actually bring value and benefit without them feeling like they've lost that control.
So as we start to wind down, a couple final questions. You had mentioned the wish list as kind of what people will strive for. What are some what are some of the odder or more extraordinary wish list items that you're able to, you've been able to help people with? What, not just, I want you to respond to email, but what sort of things are these home run projects you're starting to get off people's desks?
So a lot of times it's the things that are above and beyond your like mundane tasks. So people often that we work with are 1 to 2 man shops, and so they only have so much capacity, but a lot of times CEOs are like dreamers, and so they have the big visions, they have the big ideas, but they only have so much time in the day, and so those mundane tasks take over. But a lot of those specifically would just be campaigns or follow-ups with a little bit more personable approach to keeping in touch with your clients. And we all want to service our clients to the best of our ability, but sometimes we don't have time to do a quarterly check-in, or we don't make the time for certain things. So having assistants come in and either set up and schedule to make sure that you're keeping up with your client roster and making sure like, hey, it's been 6 months since we've talked to Susie. Like, do you want me to get her on the calendar? Do you want me to set up a lunch? It doesn't have to be anything outrageously expensive. It doesn't have to be this grand project. It's really just the more personable aspect of things. It's just that we get so busy that we just kind of like let it go to the wayside. I know a lot of clients often want to do, well, up until recently, like they're starting to get back into doing like a more community like event or like a dinner with their clients or setting up smaller things. And sometimes again, it just comes down to I don't have the time. I don't have the ability to sit here and plan out like a 10-person experience or whatever to make it more personable. So we do things like that, especially around the holidays too, making sure that you're taking care of your clients in a way that, it's not just a holiday card like everybody else. We're finding more personal ways to make that connection. But in general, um, we do a lot of tasks that really just become either they get thrown out on the sidelines because it's like a project that's too tedious. So, doing audits and doing things that take, a lot of quality time to make sure that your database is up to date, or, you've really skimmed through making sure that your processes and procedures are actually running to their ideal. Just having somebody who can take the time to be either a second pair of eyes, with a fresh set of eyes, like who may not be in it all day every day like you. It's really just all over the board. It could be anything.
Lizzy, I think that's a great place to close things down. If people want to get in touch with you, we'll have contact information in the show notes, but why don't you go ahead and tell them where they can find you?
Thank you so much. I'm on LinkedIn, so Lizzy Brooks, and it's under Virtually Brooks. You can also email me at elizabeth@virtuallybrooks.com, and my website is virtuallybrooks.com.
Super. Thanks so much, Lizzy.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening. You can find more info on us and get your free white paper on client service at 5starcouncil.com. You can get in touch with me at john@5starcouncil.com. If you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe wherever fine podcasts are found and leave us a review wherever you can.